Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the grayscale trusts and also the FOMC meeting minutes, at least in short. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so first thing I want to say, and I don't have this pulled up right now, but look, you guys need to understand something, okay? We're having to be patient with crypto just like you guys are, okay? Nothing's a guarantee. There's a bunch of positions we bought in that are currently down, and we're accumulating and waiting for the bull run to start. Or the next leg of it, I should say. So if you guys are getting impatient, I mean, not financial advice, but you're probably in the wrong industry, dude, because crypto is cyclical, and if you don't take the time to understand this and you're just looking for a quick buck, well, I can't help you with that. I'm not going to help you with that because I don't trade anybody else's money except my own. So, um, look, all I'm going to tell you guys is this. So whenever we show you guys these charts, these are estimates. Okay, nothing's a guarantee. If a support line breaks, we go to the next support line. If a resistance line breaks or resistance zone breaks, we go to the next resistance zone. That's how it works in trading. It takes a lot of time and energy for us to do this for y'all. And once again, these are all estimates. Nothing's a guarantee. We're just basically showing you what we think is the next move based on what we're currently seeing on the charts. But it doesn't necessarily mean that has to happen. Like when we thought that it was going to bounce off support and go up here, it didn't. It went down to this macro support trend line. That happens, okay? If we were still in these positions, we would be down too. As a matter of fact, I can show you guys this right now. We've been buying, well, we'll show you the portfolio this weekend, but we're still buying Filecoin as of right now. But as you guys can see, our average cost basis on Filecoin is just under $7. And Filecoin is still kind of sitting in the slumps, okay? So we're actually down roughly about 50% on this position, waiting for this move up here, just like you guys are waiting for that $500 price target and above on LTCN, all right? So just understand that. Like I said before, I think likely we're not going to see the real parabolic phase of the bull run start until probably around November, December of this year, because that's when a lot of things that are causing uncertainty in the markets, like the Fed interest rates and elections, are going to become more certain, which is what markets like. Okay. So I'm not going to get deep into this. You guys can look into this. You can actually, you can go to the Federal Reserve's website yourself if you want to, and look for the meeting minutes. You'll have to scroll through to find the right date, but you can look for the meeting minutes, which were released today. That's what you'll have to look for to read this stuff for yourself. But basically, this in short says that Fed officials are leaning strongly towards a September rate cut. Minutes show, okay? And the CME watch tool also shows that we are likely going to get some kind of at least a quarter basis point rate cut in September. So once we start getting those cuts, like I told you guys before, it may not happen immediately. Okay, it may take a little time to play out. We don't know exactly how long this is going to take for it to play out like this. But what we're expecting in the coming months is that as the Fed's cutting rates, the dollar index will go down. Okay, money will come out of cash and cash equivalents. Basically, they'll come out of bonds, they'll come out of high interest savings, and they'll come out of CDs because they're no longer going to be paying 5% at some point in the future. In my opinion, it's going to be sooner rather than later. And that money will move over back into stocks and crypto. And that's when we'll see the parabolic phase of the bull run. So with that being said, let's get into the content. So support, once again, is going to be along this trend line, roughly around 11 to 1250, which again, 1250 is right around the time that, in my opinion, not a guarantee, okay, I think likely we're going to start the parabolic phase of this bull run. Now, if you're thinking it might go down to support here, the support zone below this is 660 to 8, okay? So we're looking at 13 to 15 on resistance, 25 to 27 at the zone high up there, and then 54 all the way up at the swing high. I'm just going to give you guys the maximum targets here, okay? So from current price to the previous swing high, 375%. And then from this lower zone, if you think it's going to go lower to the swing high, 685%. So BCHG, very similar story, kind of slowly riding along this trend line. It may hit the apex and then break out to the upside right around November, December timeframe, which is where these two areas converge. Once again, that is not a guarantee. Okay, this is just what I think is going to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to happen that way. Time will tell if we're going to be right about this or not. But that support area is roughly 5.5 to 670. You're looking at 760 for resistance, 1050, 1260, 18, 20, and then it's going to be roughly about 24 all the way up here. Again, just because we call it resistance doesn't necessarily mean that it has to stay as resistance. Okay, the idea behind the resistance is that eventually the zones can be broken and then they retest the support and go higher. Okay, it's just for now their resistance because the price is below this. For those of you guys that don't do TA, you don't understand how this works. Not financial advice, but it may not be a bad idea to take some time to learn this stuff. Okay, so 354% move here on BCHG HZEN. You're looking at 250 to roughly about $3 at the current support price. Again, it's sitting on that zone. You guys can do what you want with that. 380 to 420 at resistance there, 690 to 810, and then all the way up there at 10.5. The target for the wedge is the top of the wedge, so that's basically at the swing high. We're looking at roughly about 257% here. So ETCG sitting on support. You have about 870 to, I'd say, roughly about $10. We're looking at 13 for resistance, 13 to 16, I'd say somewhere in there. 1780 and all the way up to 20. Just understand that it's possible that these things could wick in and out of these zones. Okay, that does happen. You can see a wick here, you can see a wick here and here and here. So we're trying to give you guys a little bit of room here for potential kind of wicking scenarios. Like it could have wicked here right above here on this candle and then came back down and then sold off. That's always a possibility. Okay. So 104%, or I should say it could have been a possibility at that time. So ETH still looking at this white line of support, 1880. If it doesn't hold, you're looking at roughly about 1060 to 1550. Resistance here, 2320 to about 2850, and then the cup and handle targets all the way up here at 46. So I just say from this, I just measure from this white line to the cup and handle targets, 145%. Phil G, somebody said this thing has zero volume. Well, I mean, the last few days it's had about 11,000 shares traded. I mean, what's 11,000 shares times $35? I don't know what that is. So we'll do some simple math here. 11,000 times 35, assuming that was the price for the day, $385,000 worth of Phil G. That's a lot. I mean, I suppose it's possible somebody could have moved the market by themselves with that capital, but again, a lot of people that buy these probably don't have that kind of money. So that would be my guess. Because with the Fed tightening rates, people are not looking at this as like, oh, well, let's just go buy this or that, right? Because the Fed's not printing money right now. So people that have a lot of money are like, oh, how can I make sure I don't lose money, right? Because they're worried about like a recession and stuff like that. So lower support here, 560 to 1190. The current resistance, I'd say about 37 to 40. Yeah, we've gone over this ad nauseum many times on this chart, on this channel, on this chart. It's roughly about 37 to 40, and then 400 up there at the highs. So assuming it does come down to support, I'm gonna give you guys the worst case scenario, since some of you out there do actually want to see this as worst case scenario because crypto is doing nothing. 370% to 4,200%. GBAT, so current support here, roughly about 450 to 510, 770 to roughly about $10 at the resistance there, and then $32 up at the highs. So the measure move here would be roughly about 600% on GBAT. GLIV, support here, 1170 to about $15. The resistance all the way up here is at 80. And assuming that it does touch support one more time, potentially before it goes up, because if it reaches the apex of this move and then breaks out to the upside, gets above the EMAs and the trend line, maybe that's the last dip buying opportunity. I'm not sure. So 437% here. G-Link, so we did hit this lower support. So lower support here is 39 to roughly 44. And then you have 66 to roughly about, I'd say 84, 85, somewhere in there at resistance, and then 220 at the highs. So just to get back up to the swing highs, roughly about a 320% move from the current price. GSOL, this thing's still chopping sideways. Personally, I would not buy this because, again, the risk to the downside is too great. So pretty much anywhere along this trend line is what I would be looking at as support. You guys can come up with your own conclusions as to what you think would be the ideal support here. Okay, but I would be looking roughly around 260 to 380 as my support zone. If it got below that, I'd then be looking at 170 to 205. If you're really bearish and you say, you know what, screw that, I don't want to buy unless it's the worst case scenario, okay, I can respect that. $70 to $80 would be the next level I'd be looking at as support. So the highs up here, 585, roughly thereabouts. From the current price to the highs, roughly about 44%. If we get back to this support zone I've been talking about for eons with y'all, it's roughly about 209%, although I am not so sure it's likely going to get back down there. Can't say for sure one way or another if it is or is not. Again, I'm just telling you guys what I think is going to happen based upon what I see on the charts. Okay, 692% here. GXLM, so unfortunately this white line did not hold. I'm not sure what the heck happened here, but we're basically going to be kind of looking at these candle wicks down here, 14, 15, somewhere there as potential buy zone. Below that, 470 to 1160. And then you have 53.40 to 59-ish as resistance, and then $69 as the swing high up there. So from around that $14 level, you'd be looking at roughly about 375%. And then from support here, roughly about 823%. Mana, it is holding this white line, okay? But for those of you guys that are super bears out there that you think it's just going to keep going down, next support would be 160 to 350. The current line is 1080, and then you have 1760 to about $20 at that resistance, and then of course these swing high all the way up here at 70. So from the white line to the swing high up there, 509%, and then from the support zone down here all the way up to the swing high, roughly about 2,180%. So pretty massive gain there. And it could, of course, go higher than the previous all-time highs, but we won't know until it actually happens. So we can kind of just theorize based on what technical analysis, support and resistance, structure zones, and all that stuff is telling us is more likely to happen. So, yeah, we haven't gotten above the support zone yet, so I'd still say bear case scenario, 315 is the support. Bull case scenario, 430 to roughly about 520 for Zcash, and then we're looking at about 8 to 970 as resistance, and then 10 and a quarter all the way up there, the previous swing high. So from the current area to the swing high, you're looking at roughly about 105 to 110% gain, somewhere in there. And then from this white line down here, roughly about 230% gain. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.